It's Wednesday night, and you know what that means. We're back live on the Big Mountain.
Welcome back to the Big Mountain for another live episode on a Wednesday night. Missed last week, back for this week, and we will have another one next week for sure. And then we'll probably have to miss another one. But hey, we're here tonight, and that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
We got some fun stuff to talk about.
I'm excited.
Steve's going to start off with some Big Ten. We always start with the Big Ten if there's stuff to talk about. So we're going to talk NHL. I'm in hockey mode.
You're in hockey mode.
NFL draft picks. We're going to talk Big Ten first. I know you have a lot to go over.
Yep.
I did a standalone episode on the Mountain West, but I'm going to talk about them briefly just because we're talking draft. And then we're going to get into the Notre Dame Clemson partnership that got announced. Maybe a little ACC discussions. There's been some things coming out this week as well. And then at the end, we're going to talk Pac-12 because we always leave Pac-12 or Mountain West for the end. It gives our Pacific Coast people and Mountain time zone people a little more time to jump on. I know there was news coming out here just a few hours ago from Dellinger about governance. I have not had a chance to really look at that. I wasn't really going to be something we talk about. If we have commenters, we can certainly talk about it, but not on the agenda for tonight.
You know, one thing I learned this week is that our Pacific time zone viewers include those of our fans who live in Las Vegas, which I did not know.
So, for those of you that may have missed it, we did a special draft episode. We had Bill, that college football guy, and Stephen Vitt, who's often in the chat with us, come on, and we did a draft. I'm sure some of you have seen that. Steve made a bit of a boo-boo early on, and by early on, I mean pick number one.
Yes.
That UNLV, which was a good pick, but he thought it was in the Mountain Time Zone.
Yes, but it's not.
But you made a hell of a draft. We're going to get to that in a little bit. I want to talk about that a little bit later on. Shout out to everybody that's in Day of One. Rob, he's loving that you picked the Aztecs for your draft. JEH is on. JEH loving that you picked the Beavs for your
Beaver
draft.
believer.
Baby Wants Bling is on. I believe interested, if I'm not mistaken, in some of the ACC stuff, I believe. Of course, we got Go Dogs from Gilbert. He's a Fresno fan. Bill, that college football guy. He's in Nashville, Tennessee. Fantastic city. Wish I was there with you. Mm-hmm. We could be doing it live from one of the many, many bars with live music being played behind us. And
or
of course,
all the bars. We could just
do bar hop. Yeah. That would be a long night, but I'd be up for it. And then, of course, first one in, Sergeant saying first, question mark? Yes, you are. Welcome aboard one of his favorite squids on YouTube.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Go Navy.
All right, so let's get into it, Steve. You got Big Ten.
Yeah, let's go right in the Big Ten. So we're a little late on this because we took off last week.
Yeah, we got what did I had something? I think it was
Caps game. I think it was Caps
game. Oh, it was
game.
Capitals
game.
Didn't
miss the Caps game.
Didn't want to miss the Caps game.
They won their first round series in advance.
They won the first round series. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, so we sacrificed our weekly show so that the Caps could win their first round series in advance.
Much appreciated, everyone.
So I do want to talk about the Big Ten had a fantastic draft, the NFL draft, exactly 71 players taken in the 7 rounds of the draft. So huge draft for them. A little bit behind the SEC, but closer than normal.
Okay.
We're starting to see maybe the talent level in the Big Ten creep up there to where the SEC is. Or some people said SEC had a little down year. I guess we'll see, because one maybe is trending down, one's trending up a little bit. We'll see if that continues.
Or was it because you had Oregon, USC?
That's part of it.
Okay.
But if you'll see here with the names, a lot of them are the traditional Big Ten programs.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Okay, so let's go right into it. I'm going to go... we're going to show you the slides that Big Ten football put out, so the graphics for each round. I'm not going to talk about every single player drafted, all 71. JY would kill me. We'd be here till midnight. Actually, his wife would kill both of us. So I'm just going to point, highlight.
Just me.
Yeah, well, I don't know. She may kill me in that one. But so I'm just going to highlight a couple players from each round here. And actually I have 3 in the first round. So right away, out of the bat, I'm a Penn State fan. Abdul Carter, number 3. I know JY was surprised that he wasn't number 1 overall.
Nah.
The Titans had already kind of basically telegraphed they were taking a quarterback,
sure.
Cam Ward. He could have gone second to the Browns. I was hoping not, as a Steelers fan. I think the Giants are a great place for him.
Yeah.
Great pick for them. Just an absolute beast. And he'll come in, be a game wrecker for them. So that was great to see him pick number 3 overall. And then I was really wondering how the Michigan D tackles would be.
Yeah.
And right away in Mason Graham, pick number 5 goes to the Browns. Good spot for them. Just an absolute war daddy, anchor of their defensive line, I think, for the next 10 years. And then I actually have 4 players. So Tyler Warren, another Penn State player.
Yep.
We were pretty sure he would go in the first round. It was question was where, what's the best fit. He's going to the Colts with a 14th overall pick. He wore number 44 in high school and college, okay? That's obviously the Hall of Famer Darryl Clark. The number is retired, so I'm interested to see if he ends up wearing that number. There's some kind of thing where the other player can allow them to do it. We'll see, but I think it's a great spot for them. They like using their tight end. Just they have a young, inexperienced quarterback, and that's the best security blanket you can have for a young, inexperienced quarterback. So great spot for him. And then Ohio State has continued that streak of first-round wide receivers. This year was Emeka Egbuka going 19 overall to the Bucks. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who already have a pretty good, solid wide receiver room.
Yeah.
This gives them potentially a third, basically number 1 starter, for Baker Mayfield there, wide receiver room. I thought that was a great spot for him. So moving forward, we're going to move forward to round 2. Again, a lot more, and you'll see them come up on the screen, but a lot more Big Ten players taken here. But one that really stood out to me that I wanted to highlight, Will Johnson goes number 47 overall to the Cardinals. I think a lot of people were surprised that he dropped that far. He did have some injury issues this last year at Michigan, missed a bunch of games. Honestly, there were, if he would have gone out the year before, very well could have been a first-round pick. Comes back this last year. And had some injury concerns, and then also I heard that he did not test all too well at the combine.
Okay.
And some NFL executives and coaches, they think he's basically a zone only guy at the NFL level, that he won't be able to cover man to man. So I'm sure that kind of hurt. So he dropped a little bit, but goes to the Cards. I think that'll be a good spot for him. And going second round maybe takes a little bit of pressure off him because he's not going to come in and be that lockdown man to man guy.
Yeah.
So I think a good spot for him. And then I'm going to move right forward, keep it moving along to round 3. There's 2 really interesting picks here. So number 74 overall in round 3, Pat Bryant, wide receiver out of Illinois. The dude just kept making circus catch after circus catch down the sidelines, just an absolute beast. Went off this last year with Luke Altmaier throwing the ball to him. He's going to Denver, who has the quarterback out of Oregon from 2 years ago, Bo Nix.
Yes, thank you. I was going to say I'm forgetting his name. But yes, it is Bo Nix.
I think that'll be fantastic. Bo Nix is going to get his number. I think he'll quickly become Bo Nix's number 1 guy, security blanket, the guy that you can trust to go make those catches. So I thought it was pretty cool seeing that an Illinois player go in round 3, and I think it's a great spot for him.
Yeah.
And then one I was interested in, I don't know if you remember, Caleb Johnson was the running back from Iowa, just absolute beast of a dude. Gets picked number 83 overall by the Steelers. Power running back. He's when you picture a Steelers running back, this is the guy.
Yeah.
I think they let Najee Harris go maybe to the Cards, so they needed a new powerhouse back, and I think this guy will step right from Iowa. Similar uniforms, going from Iowa Hawkeyes to the Steelers.
Yeah.
And he'll be the day 1 power back, workhorse back right at the beginning from day 1. So great spot for him. Moving forward to round 4, again, we're going to show this on our screen. A bunch of Big Ten players, but one, again, I'm a Steelers fan, as everybody knows. Jack Sawyer from Ohio State. I was the captain of that number 1 defense in the country this year.
Yep.
Made massive plays in the playoffs, to help secure wins. Was just the leader of that great defense. I'm really interested. He's going to the Steelers, who play a 3-4 defense. I'm guessing he's going to be a middle linebacker. Could end up seeing him right next to T.J. Watt there, which would be really interesting. I think, great run stopper, just a great overall football player. I'm really interested to see how he does in the NFL just in general, because I kind of wondered, is he one of those guys that's an awesome college player but maybe not athletic enough at the NFL level?
Right.
But I love this spot for him. I think he'll play in the middle in the Steelers 3-4 defense, which I think will be great for him. Moving forward, round 5, another Ohio State player. We're starting to see a theme here. Pretty almost every round, multiple Ohio State players.
Yeah.
Round 4, or actually, I'm sorry, round 5, Denzel Burke from Ohio State. I think one of the best corners in the country. Played great last year. Going to the Cardinals again. So the Cardinals got Will Johnson from Michigan, high-level defensive back, and they're getting Denzel Burke, who I think actually has a better upside in the NFL even than Will Johnson. So the Cardinals really replenishing their defensive secondary with Big Ten players. The next round, in round 6, this is something I think you might find interesting. I don't know how much you paid attention to this because we're all the way down in round 6. The Commanders, Washington Commanders, JY's favorite NFL team, they selected out of UCLA Kane Medrano. Okay, this is a dude. He is very underrated. Tested fantastically at the combine. Big dude, NFL size, NFL speed. I honestly think he just did not get enough attention because of where he played at UCLA.
Right.
They, had all that turnover. New coach didn't have a great season, but. One thing, and you know this, the Commanders' fantastic offense this last year. The defense suffered.
Yep.
They've drafted some secondary help. They also needed help in stopping the run. Well, I'm telling you, this dude, Kane Medrano, is a run-stopping machine. This guy is going to come up and plug holes. I think he might be the steal of the draft in round 6. I think talent level, he's a guy that linebacker's not a premium position. That's part of it. But he definitely could have been a second, third round pick. They get him in round 6. I think he will immediately come in and help with that run defense. Might not play on third down. Might just be a first and second down guy, come off the field on third down. But fantastic pick for the Commanders. I think he's going to do great. And sometimes you wonder if a round 6 pick will even make the team. I'm wondering, honestly, if he'll be a starter this year. I think he may start some games.
Okay.
The last pick, I want to go to round 7, the final round. And one guy I really wanted to highlight, someone you and I focused on a lot, Curtis Rourke, gets drafted by the Niners. I think it's a great spot for him. The starter, and now his name escapes my mind, Brock Purdy, has been the starter, has done real good. I think he just signed a new contract. So you hear that and you think, well, that's a bad spot because he doesn't have an opportunity to come in and start. However, Purdy, he's not the biggest guy in the world. He was a low draft pick. Right. He's been successful, but he's also been hurt, and he's had some mixed success. Yep. I think, Curtis Rourke was fantastic last year. I said he was NFL ready. I think he dropped a lot because at the end of the season we found out he was playing with a torn ACL.
Yes. He
had to go through surgery and rehab. Didn't look great in the playoffs because he's trying to play through. He'd had a previous hand injury and he's playing through a torn ACL.
Right.
So I think that medical situation caused him to drop. And I think this is a great situation for him to come into that Niners team, compete for the backup spot right away, develop in a Kyle Shanahan offense. I love my Shanahan offenses.
I know you do.
And
you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
They're great offenses.
Yes. And I think it's a really good spot for him. There's no pressure on him. If he would have, let's say, no injuries this year and shined in the playoffs, he could have been maybe a second, third round pick or something. But then there would have been more pressure on him to come into a team to maybe be a starter. And right now, no pressure on him. And who knows? Something happens with Purdy. He doesn't work out. He gets injured or whatever. Rourke has time to develop to be maybe that next guy up. So I'm happy for him. He gets drafted. I think he should have been drafted higher, but the injury thing caused him to drop. And I think when you really look at it, the Niners are a good spot for him. Gives him time to develop. So that's my Big Ten players of the draft. They had 71 players. I'm not talking about all of them, but those were some key ones I wanted to point out.
You crushed it.
Yeah.
I got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
But before we get to the questions, I want to give some shout-outs.
All right.
Huffer Billy Paw is in here talking about FSU, Clemson, the Notre Dame partnership. Huffer Billy Paul, we're going to get there. Promise. I'll read some of your comments, questions up above. I know Genetics has been talking about a little bit about that as well. We're going to get to that here in maybe about 10 minutes. So hang with us. Shout out to Baby Once Bling. Go Knowles. I thought I had a funny suspicion, if my memory served me correctly, she was a Knoll fan, ACC. Maybe not ACC fan, but a Knoll fan.
Yeah.
And I have to bring it up.
Okay.
I'm wearing my Rockford Peaches shirt.
Oh, yes.
It's the only baseball shirt, I think. I may have an Orioles shirt, but I wore this for a purpose tonight, Steve.
Yeah. There's no crying in baseball.
There's no crying in baseball.
Okay.
Ellen Sue, dirt in the skirt.
Yeah.
Daggone it. Anyway, I bring this up because we just got done recording an episode with our good friend on the big mountain, Mount Rushmore,
Yes.
the infamous Doug Rohan. We were going to talk Seminole baseball, and that'll be out. I'm going to get it out tomorrow. After we're done with this, I'm going to go produce it. It'll drop tomorrow for our Knowles fans. If there's any other you're interested in baseball chat, you're interested in listening to Doug speak, or if you just listen to interest us talk, baseball, FSU, ACC, tomorrow.
Yeah, and we have some Clemson fans on here as well.
We talk Clemson.
We talk Clemson, a lot of ACC, Seminole, Miami, Clemson, baseball. It was a fun show. It was. I said when we were talking to Doug, we've talked about wrestling before. We've talked about hockey. I even talked about soccer, much to JY's unhappiness. But now we've added baseball to our rotation. So check that episode out. If you're a college baseball fan, if you're a Seminoles fan, or just an ACC fan, definitely check that episode out.
It's a fun time. Doug is always a great, I say interview. Great person to have
Great
on.
guy to talk to anytime.
Just sit back.
Yep.
He's got his drink going, and we have a really good conversation.
He's passionate and smart and intelligent,
He brings the smart.
He brings our intelligence level up.
Exactly. You do that too.
You got all the best words, JY. You got all the best words.
Me and words don't get along. My question's on you, and then we're going to get to Mountain West. I want to hear about 3 things real quick.
All right.
Well, 2 things. Gabriel went in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
And Howard went in the 6th round to Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Thoughts on where they were drafted, what you think they're going to be like in the NFL?
I really have questions about both as NFL starters. Those both to me are those kind of guys that are great college starters. Yeah. But have maybe some physical limitations, especially with Gabriel. He's kind of small. He doesn't have a lot of arm strength. I really doubt either one of them will end up being long-term NFL starters. Maybe they start a few games. Will Howard, I honestly, with the position the Steelers are in this year, I hope they give him a chance.
Yeah.
To start some games. We'll see. But I have serious doubts. I think I think Gabriel went too high. The Browns completely, I think, screwed up their draft as far as the quarterback position is concerned. I like some of their other picks. But drafting Gabriel in the 3rd and then coming back later and drafting Shedeur Sanders, maybe you were going to ask me about him.
That was the next thing. Let's talk about it.
I think they already have a disaster at the quarterback position.
Yes, they do.
And they just said, you know what? Our quarterback position is already a complete disaster. Let's overdraft one guy and then bring in another guy who's going to be a total distraction. I think their quarterback position is just going to be go from disaster to complete dumpster fire this year. And Dylan Gabriel, I loved him at Oregon. He was fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't see him as an NFL starting quarterback. So to get him in the 3rd round,
right,
I think was just a reach there. And then to open your quarterback room to bring in that circus show that's going to come with Shedeur Sanders, I think it's just rough.
So you talked about the Shedeur Sanders piece to Cleveland, which is just a massive head scratcher.
Yes.
Unless they know they're going to be making deals because of what they have at quarterback.
Yes.
Or I don't know what the or would be. They have to do something.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that real quick. I don't want to get on it. What were your thoughts on the Shedeur Sanders? What some people have called the incredible drop. A lot of people, first round, and by a lot of people, I'm talking the prognosticators, not the ADs, not the teams themselves. Things started to come out right before the draft. I saw, somebody say it was like this was an assistant coach with one of the NFL teams say it was like the worst player interview he's ever had with anybody. And I don't want to crap on the guy. I don't know anything about. Yep. I mean, I know what we all know.
Yes.
But what are your thoughts on that?
So my thoughts are, I think NFL coaches and player scouts do not see him as a definite day 1 starter franchise quarterback right away. And so here's the problem. If they did, I think it seemed, even with all that baggage, if he was like a game changer, going to take you to the Super Bowl, be your franchise quarterback for the next 10 years, teams would have been willing to deal with that.
Sure.
And he would have been drafted in the 1st round or early in the 2nd. I even thought the Steelers may go for him in the 2nd. They didn't, which I was happy about.
Right.
But the problem is, there's a lot of crap that teams will be willing to deal with from a first round guaranteed franchise quarterback that you're not going to be willing to deal with for a backup, So once he didn't go in the first or second round, nobody was wanted to touch that for a backup.
Right.
And so that's why he dropped even further. I think talent-wise, he should have been drafted probably like second to third round if you just looked at talent.
Okay.
But again, because he wasn't a first rounder, that guaranteed franchise quarterback,
right.
I think that's why he dropped. And then once he dropped a certain level, teams are like, why do we want to bring this in for a backup? Bring all this circus. So I don't think there was a mass conspiracy against them. Right. And at the same time, there's always like these little things you hear about different players and whatever every year. And I don't think any of that would matter if he was talented enough and good enough, if he was maybe the talent level of Cam Ward,
right?
Or your guy with the Commanders,
Gabriel
from last year,
or not Gabriel, Daniels.
Yes. If he was that talent level, a team would have taken a chance on him in the first half, first round. But because he wasn't, he's not talented enough to put up with the circus of and he might be a really nice guy, but it's all that comes with it. And then if you're a head coach, someone said this and it makes a lot of sense. If you're a head coach, right, and your team is not doing well, and you have Shador on the bench, okay, being the backup, the whole time you got to hear about what Deion Sanders thinks of this, and you got to look over your shoulder. Is the GM gonna fire him, or the owner's gonna fire me and bring on Deion to be his son's coach? Because Shador's only ever played for his father. That's another thing. You got to worry about the coachability. Yeah. He's only in high school, college, ever. He's only played for his father. He's never had another coach. So if you're the head coach, you're thinking, is this guy even going to listen to me? Or is he just going to be calling his dad and trying to get his dad to put in a word with the GM to override me?
Yeah, that's a good point. The last thing I'll say, you know what that reminded me of?
What's that?
We ranked football movies back with a friend of the channel, TV Todd.
Yes.
And it reminds me of the movie Draft Day.
Which I love that movie, Kevin Costner.
Where was it Bo Callahan, I think, was the quarterback that they thought he was going to go first.
Right.
And you know what? I just watched that movie like 2 weeks ago.
It's good.
And Bo Callahan, and then they figured there was something wrong with him, and then he started to,
why wasn't he
down. What's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? Yeah.
Wasn't there something like, why didn't he get invited to his teammate's birthday party?
No, it was why did no teammates attend you, or what teammates attended your 21st birthday party?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And he didn't answer the question, but the answer was none.
None, yes.
And then, but anyway, we can talk about that for a while. But it reminds me of Draft Day on a different level. All right, let's go to the Mountain West. I did a standalone episode. Going to breeze through these real quick, but we're talking draft picks. Of course, the big man on the block, Ashton Jeanty, runner-up for the Heisman on the Broncos, easily goes in round one. I mean, we knew he was going to go in round one. The question was where exactly. Hey, Surf City Bill's late again, but he is here just in time to talk about the Mountain West.
So I hesitate to pat myself on the back, but you said there was a question about where he was going to go on round one.
You knew where he was going to
go. Yes, and
you crushed it. Vegas, and you love that he's in Vegas.
Love that he's in Vegas. I think he'll be day one starter, be an all-pro running back for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Just a fantastic place for him. I love everything about it.
With a good head coach, with a good offensive coordinator in Vegas. Like, talk about being a stud dude that can sell tickets. I don't want to put pressure on the poor kid. I think he's ready for it. I'm super excited to watch it.
And I've compared him while he was in college. I said he's the best running back since Barkley. Okay. Right. And Barkley went to a bad situation at the beginning. He was drafted high, goes to the Giants. First 5 years of his career wasted. Goes to the Eagles. We both hate the Eagles, but that's okay. But goes to a better situation and crushes it with the Eagles. And so for me, Jeanty, there might be some Boise fans or Mountain West fans who are disappointed, like, oh, he should have went in the top 5 picks or whatever. None of that matters because he was still in the first round,
right?
And he went to the absolute perfect scenario for him.
Yep.
So I'm happy for him, and I just think it's great.
Yep, perfect scenario. And we got people chiming in here. Quality human, 100%. Everything that I've seen, just a fantastic individual. And we've got Vegas Raiders got a steal with Jeanty, just a perfect spot for him there. The People's Heisman, or as we call him, the Big Mountain Heisman.
That's right.
Whatever the hell we call it.
Yes.
But he got multiple awards coming from the Big Mountain last year.
Big Mountain Player of the Year, Running Back of the Year.
Yeah, he crushed it. But anyway, all right, let's get to the last couple here real quick. Fourth round, I was anxious to see, they had Torrey Horton ranked slightly above Royals. And I always thought, Royals was probably going to go before Horton, not a knock on Horton, and he did. So Royals went in the fourth round, 133rd overall, to the Kansas City Chiefs. Interesting, his last name's Royals, and he's in Kansas City.
Yeah, that's cool.
But anyway, I think he's going to do phenomenal things. They're going to a great franchise. I think he won't start as a starter, but he's got the talent to do some really good things there in Kansas City. And then Horton goes in the fifth round, 33 picks after Royals, and he's going to Seattle, the first of two players from the Mountain West, the Seattle Seahawks. Pick Seattle. A lot of those Western teams, you see them taking the Mountain West guys. You're going to hear me talk about Vegas, Seattle, Arizona. Those are those are the schools you get. We'll have one Detroit, one Kansas City player here, but those Western they recruit a little, not recruit. They're able to see them a little bit more in person. In real gameplay. So 6th overall, I was anxious to see where Hassanin was going to end up. Great linebacker here for the Broncos, the second Bronco to get picked. He's in the top 200. He goes at 196. He's going to Detroit. I think he could do really, really good things. He actually proposed on his draft night. He got drafted, and then he got down on a knee. And he took his first paycheck and went, "Here you go."
Yeah, I got a job. Marry me.
Right. Yes, exactly. No, we're kidding. I'm real happy for that kid. Another what seems to be a really, really good human being.
Yes.
He actually born in Egypt.
Yes.
Moved to the U.S. I believe it was his. I don't remember the whole story. His cousin or somebody was like, "Hey, you could be a good football player," and he's been playing football for like 6 years.
Yeah.
And he's super strong linebacker.
Yep.
Then we had. Out of Nevada, safety Crawford, he's going to Arizona. That was a 7th round pick, another 7th round pick. Ricky White, absolutely. I'm so glad he was drafted. Little worried as we're getting down. He got picked 238th. Little worried he wasn't going to get picked. He deserved to be picked. He went to Seattle as well. Ricky White III. So 3 receivers. Of course, I didn't say Nick Nash. He was left out.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys that we could be talking about, they did get undrafted contracts afterwards. I'm not going to go through all that. I hit on some of them on that episode if you want to hear from them. Probably Nick Nash would be the top for me. And Jackson Woodard, although Woodard went to Seattle, he actually just got cut or waived yesterday, I believe, unfortunately for Jackson Woodard. But I think Nick Nash, phenomenal talent. I mean, the adult catches anything that's thrown to him. So some massively awesome receivers coming out of the Mountain West. And that's all I had.
I got 2 predictions for you.
Go.
Ricky White will make the roster in Seattle. Okay. Make the regular roster, not the scout team or whatever. Some point this season, he'll be on the regular roster in Seattle. That's one prediction. My other prediction, this is a big one.
Okay.
All right.
I'm ready.
Genty will lead the NFL as a rookie in rushing.
Wow.
He will win the rushing title as a rookie, and everyone is going to be like, how the heck did Vegas get this guy? But it's my prediction, bold prediction, Genty as a rookie will win the rushing title in the NFL.
There you have it. You heard it here first from Steve. He's putting his marker down.
Yep.
Genty, the NFL leading rusher for 2025. I'd love to see it. He's in a good spot to do it.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt about that. All right, so we talked about the Big Ten and the Mountain West. Before we get to Notre Dame Clemson, I have to talk about another really cool thing that we just did. It came out today. We did a draft. We talked about this really early on. It dropped today. We did a non-P4 draft. So any school that was not in the P4s, so G6, FCS, they're all available.
Not Notre Dame.
Not Notre Dame. Yes, P4 and Notre Dame was not available.
Yes.
But we had Bill on, that college football guy. We had Steve and Vid on. Steve and I, we picked 48 teams, 12 each. And we are letting our viewers decide who has the best conference.
Yep.
So make sure you get on there. We have a lot of people already putting in their comments and their votes. We're neck and neck between Steve and Bill.
Yep.
They are neck and neck to be number one. Steven and I are trailing a little bit of you guys. There's a clear top two and a clear third and fourth. So make sure you get in there. Make sure you vote for who you think has the best conference coming out of our draft.
And spoiler alert for our Mountain Dwellers. I'll just tell you, first round, I come out firing. I head to Vegas and I put JY on tilt.
I was on tilt the entire time. Well, not the entire time.
After my first pick.
After your first pick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, which was about 30 seconds into the episode.
Exactly.
Or into the pick. Oh, Steven's on. Good. Steven's here. Ohio Bobcat, our picker as well. So again, just make sure you guys go on. We had a lot of fun. And, you never know how well they're going to do. The video's doing really well.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed.
And
a lot of good comments. I mean, not just ranking them. People really enjoyed kind of the way we went about it. So
it was a lot of fun, yes.
Yes. Tommy Gunn's giving you a hard time.
Well, what's he saying?
He's saying UNLV is in the Pacific time zone.
Dude, I screwed that. And I'm honestly like a geography guy in general. I screwed that up. Good call, Tommy Gunn.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us.
Yeah, but I recovered well.
You recovered impeccably well. And we could talk about that for a while. This is 24 hours later.
Yes.
And I have a lot of, not a lot. I have some remorse on which way.
Yeah.
We were talking about that before we went on with Doug Rohan. And but it is what it is. I don't care.
Yeah.
It was for fun.
Yeah.
And we had a good time. And appreciate those two guys for coming back on. All right. So let's go to Notre Dame versus Notre Dame plus Clemson. They have announced a partnership that they will be playing each other for the foreseeable future. And it was discussed that whether it's part of their normal ACC scheduling or not, they're always going to be playing each other. So there you have it. From 2027 to 2038, they are good to go. The historic partnership. I thought the graphic they put out was very cool.
Yeah.
I used the one from Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Clemson probably had one too, but the one I saw the most was Notre Dame. So that's the one I clipped here. So I don't want to necessarily, we could talk about whatever we want here. I want to talk about for sure, like what implications this may have for the next 10 years with the ACC. These are great games. We've talked brand versus brand. You've talked about, I know Genetics has talked about that a lot, brand versus brand. This is two of the top brands along with FSU. And, they're making sure they're playing the high level brands. And we saw that with the ACC, supposedly, the new ACC agreement, that they were going to make sure that they're getting brand versus brands. So it's interesting that we also now get this only a month or whatever it's been, 2 months later. So I have a lot of questions, and I just want to have an open discussion. What was your first thought when this kind of popped up on, I think it was Monday is when it came out?
My first thought was I wasn't surprised. We had been hearing that they were going to try and do this with Notre Dame with some of the big ACC teams.
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it will. We talked about NBC not being happy with Notre Dame's schedule. So I think this is a move that pleases both the current ACC TV partners and Notre Dame's TV partners, media partners. I think it's smart. I think it gives them flexibility. I don't necessarily think my first thought was, it doesn't necessarily change the calculus in the ACC.
Sure.
Does this make Clemson stay longer or, whatever? I don't really think you can read too much into that.
Well, and I appreciate you bringing up. You talked about this, not a partnership between Notre Dame and Clemson,
right?
But you talked about NBC being disappointed in both the Big Ten and Notre Dame viewership.
They want more matchups.
You talked about that on our most recent big realignment episode about a month ago, or whenever that dropped. And this was an item you spoke about with Notre Dame. And here we go. Here's one of, in my opinion, probably several things that we're going to see. And I believe, I went back up to the, we had some good comments. I want to make sure. So Genetics is saying NBC pushed Notre Dame to get Clemson, to get the Clemson deal done to bring a better schedule of games.
Yeah.
Again, he talks about brand versus brand. And you were on this a month ago. Huff Billy Bill, let's see here. So I don't want to talk about the 9 conference games yet for the SEC. That's a little bit different. We can talk about that. What was the other thing? Okay, so Huff Billy Paul. I said Bill. Huff Billy Paul.
Yeah.
Notre Dame Clemson agreement helps Clemson get more of the ACC payout because they will have top viewership in the ACC, which is how the allocation money works in the ACC now. Yeah, that's a good comment, and it was clear. I think it was Ross that reported it, and I don't know where it came from.
Yeah, Ross
that
Dellinger.
that this partnership is outside of the ACC. What the ACC
will continue
said.
no matter what.
Right. So I don't know exactly how. I get what he's saying there because it is supposed to be eyeballs drive more money. But if this is outside of it, so does that mean some years it is part of the ACC agreement and other years it's not part of it? Like,
I think it's
we
clear.
don't know that yet.
Well,
or do we know
I
that?
do think
Okay.
we saw multiple reports that this will count as one of their ACC games.
Okay. All right.
I think that was clarified
That's
after
right.
the.
You're right. It
Yes.
was. And I think Ross actually put, Dellinger
Yes.
put that out as well.
Yep.
This will be irregardless isn't a word. Regardless, it will be an ACC game.
And what Billy Paw says there, Huffer Billy Paw, he's right. As long as while the ACC or Clemson stays in the ACC, this is going to help them. It's going to increase their revenue, but it also, I think, makes them attractive to other media partners. If they want to leave and go to the SEC or leave and go to the Big Ten,
Right.
The media partners love this. They want this. NBC wanted it. The other partners, I think, will love it. It just makes them richer while they stay in the ACC, and it makes them more attractive, I think, to other conferences that they could go to.
Well, then he also talks about timeline, and we've talked about timeline before. I think FSU and Clemson are looking at 2029 timeline for an exit, but who knows, depending on when, the Power 2 comes calling. And I think that's lining up with some of what we're hearing. But of course, it's all subject to change when one of the P2 comes calling. But you've been pretty clear about the Big Ten there that, they're not looking in the next couple years. They have some... lot of different reasons why they would like to push it more towards the end of their current media deal.
Yeah, if an opportunity I think I've been pretty clear on this. If an opportunity opens up, especially Florida State, I think maybe Clemson too, they will jump on it. However, they would prefer to wait till the end of their media deal, so through like 2030 timeframe. So I could see an announcement in 2028 and then start in 2029 or announcement in 29. I think the settlement for the ACC and these agreements, I think Clemson and Florida State fans need to be more realistic about their timeline expectations.
Sure.
Because this just makes it easier for them to stay in there a little bit longer. It makes it easier for everybody. The Big Ten wants to wait.
Yeah.
The big question mark is going to be, ESPN and North Carolina, that situation. But as far as everything else concerned, I agree with his timeline, and that's the timeline I've been on since pretty much the beginning.
Right. Yeah. Right. So the first thing I thought of was, wow, they're both of these schools are moving forward to ensure that they are, trying, whether it was forced by NBC or not, I don't know, for Notre Dame, but they're trying to ensure that they are at the top of the list in the ACC to get that bigger chunk of revenue, right? In the new agreement that they have. My second thought was, wow, is this, and I'm going to say it, speculation, is this ensuring that they're going to be able to play each other if and when Clemson leaves the ACC in 2020, whatever, 8, 9, whenever it is, this historic partnership will be around for the next 11 years, 12 years, whatever it is. And it doesn't, and I think it was said in one of the articles, it may have been on ESPN, this ensures we're going to be playing each other regardless of where Clemson is at.
Yes.
In whatever conference that they're in.
Yep.
And, at first I'm just like, yeah, we already know Clemson wants to, leave their conference. That's not really new news. But this is a tangible chunk of information that's just like, okay, they just locked this in, which only leads them further down that path. Again, I don't know the timeline, but that was the very second thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, and I think, again, there's multiple things that this deal does that's good for all parties.
Yeah.
It makes them richer now while they're in the ACC, helps them increase their revenue, but also, like you just said, Whether they go to the SEC, whether they go to the Big Ten, I think it's inevitable by the time we get in the 2030s, so they'll leave. This relationship will continue, which I think makes Notre Dame happy, makes their media partner NBC happy.
Right.
And to me, it helps ensure this is solidifying what Notre Dame wants going forward. Notre Dame wants the ACC to continue.
Yeah.
They don't want to join the Big Ten or the SEC. They have no interest. They want to continue have the ACC continue. So this is a short-term fix for that, but not a big long-term fix. I don't think it has any long-term effects because Clemson can still leave and still play Notre Dame.
Right. Yeah.
I do have a thought
Okay.
on how this could affect a potential Super League.
Okay.
So a lot of people, they keep saying, talking about Super League and when it's going to happen and all that. And and we've talked about this before. I think fans have this idea that it's basically just going to be another NFL. And it's going to be in this pretty package. And it's going to be like the College Football Super League. And, it's going to be a distinct entity. Okay. I've said for a while, I don't know that we ever get to that point. I think we're already seeing the Super League form, and it's going to look more like the Big Ten is one part of it, the SEC is a part of it, and then the teams that they want, the programs that they want to continue to play will play part of that.
Yeah.
And I think this, and Genetics had a good, I don't know if he's still on, he had a good tweet today, and I agreed with what he said. He said basically if with this agreement, and if Notre Dame makes this agreement with, let's say, Miami, Florida State as well, similar agreements, or just Florida State maybe.
Right.
And then those programs leave, and we get something else we talked about. I said the Big Ten and the SEC are really interested in that scheduling agreement. It was something they talked about with their meetings that they've had recently. So if we see that scheduling agreement between the Big Ten and the SEC, we see these agreements where Notre Dame is locking in the biggest programs. They're playing the biggest programs.
Yep.
Honestly, there's no need at that point for a Super League because they've already created a de facto Super League. But then those teams that are in a Super League can still continue to play the other teams that are not the G5 teams, the all of those things. I think we're much more likely to see that as more of a de facto Super League, and I think this move basically is one step in that process.
And that's where I've kind of always been. I've never been a Super League guy, a breakaway guy. I'm still not. I am. It's going to happen naturally, but not by breaking away. It's just going to be through more conference realignment, partnerships, all that kind of stuff. That's how it's going to happen for viewership. But it's not going to be this legit like we're literally
like the NFL.
I don't see it happening, and I could be wrong, but that's where I've always been.
And when you listen to the decision makers, so with the SEC and with the Big Ten and with Notre Dame, none of them seem to have an interest in creating this other league.
Right.
But they do have an interest in matching brands, and that's what they're doing here. So they can keep their media partners happy. They can still make money. They can still take pride in their conference. They can still play the smaller programs that are in their regional area that they want to play.
Right.
Like it's a win for pretty much everybody.
Yeah. Let's hit this. Let's get back to some of our commenters real quick, and then we're going to get to the PAC. I want to give a shout out here to, where was it at?
Big Lubbock.
Well, Tommy Gunn, right before that,
Okay.
he reminds us, and I don't think I said this on my summary. I should have. Ricky White, the first UNLV player to get drafted since 2010. That's a big deal. That's awesome. I like what Mullen's doing there.
Yes.
He might be the first since 2010. I think there'll be more coming.
Yeah.
Yes. But I appreciate you putting that up there, Tommy Gunn. Rumbling says he would have picked Nash over White. I get that argument. They're both fantastic wide receivers. I don't think you could go wrong with either one. Big Lubbock, wreck 'em. Glad we're not opening in Laramie this year.
Nice.
Nobody wants to go to Laramie.
Yeah, it's tough.
I do. I want to go to Laramie.
Yeah.
No, actually, nobody really wants to play it in Laramie. What else we got here? We've got...
Someone mentioned, I think Surf City Bill said we had to pay Bill, that college football guy, to come on and do the draft. Yeah, we may have paid him in beer. I don't know.
Right. And Big Mountain Swag.
And stickers, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people liking the move here, this partnership, good deal, great move, smart money move. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of commenters that have been negative about it.
Yep.
I think our commenters are exactly right. It's smart on pretty much every level. Let's see what we got here. If you see one, shout it out. I'd have no idea, hard rocking, about Boise having any shot at ND this year.
So the interesting thing, Notre Dame has a lot of talent, but we saw them. They got upset early last year by Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be starting either a freshman or sophomore, or maybe redshirt freshman quarterbacks. They're starting a new young quarterback.
Yep.
They're still a solid team. If you're gonna knock off Notre Dame, I think it's early in the season. And when do they play? In what, week 3?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So. But Boise losing Genty.
Boise loses Genty. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, they keep a lot of talent there. I'm a Maddox Madsen fan.
Yes,
he has a whole year as the starter under his belt. I love him coming back. The defense should be better. They, I think, have improved their secondary with some transfers. So, yes, they lost Genty. What are you going to say?
Yep.
He's number 6 freaking number 1 running back. In the draft, all that kind of stuff. Heisman runner-up. I mean, okay, they lost him.
Yeah.
But as a team, I still really like the team. Now, can they beat Notre Dame? I don't know. But I think Boise is still a fantastic football team.
I would expect Notre Dame to win, but if Boise upset them, I don't think anybody would be that shocked. They'd be like, oh, yeah, Boise, they got them. And what I'll say, we talked about this last year at the end of the season, because Genty, amazing. It should have been the Heisman, one of the best running back I've seen in college since Barkley. Their offense was a bit one-dimensional this last year.
Yes.
When we saw in the Penn State, the playoff game against Penn State.
Yeah.
They were Genty or bust.
Yeah.
For when in the really tough games.
Yeah.
Their offense may be more balanced this year.
And that has been said by the coaches.
Yeah.
They want a very 50-50 balanced off. Now, that's what they want. I don't know if they're going to get it.
Right.
But so I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
you.
I agree.
You're right. It was extremely Genty or bust. I'm not trying to take away from receivers or Maddox or anything. That's just that is very much how they ran their offense.
So we have a few people. They're complaining about NBC putting the game on Peacock. Welcome to 2025 and beyond. There's going to be more and more games that are streaming. I mean, that's just the way it is. People, if you remember this, and we were part of it. For the last 10, 15 years, everybody complained about their cable, how it was too expensive, and I have all these channels I don't want, and I'm going to cut the cord, and blah, blah, blah. Well, now we have a lot of options. There's a million streaming options. They've injected money. But is it really better for fans? Like, some people probably just rather pay their $150 a month and just go through their guide and find anything, not have to switch to different apps and have different subscriptions and all of that.
Yeah.
But that's the reality. This is what people wanted. They wanted their Netflix. They wanted their Amazon Prime, whatever. They wanted to have their choices and their options. Well, now you got choices in your options. So if you want to watch Boise and Notre Dame and they're on Peacock, then you can make the choice to go to get Peacock.
So there is... the stable's saying there's a mediation date set for the PAC in the Mountain West on May 19th. He said there was a court filing today. I will certainly follow up on that. May be able to do an update for people if there's actually some goodies in there. If it's just setting a date, there you go. May 19th. I did know effective last week there was not any mediation that had occurred, nor was there a mediator selected. That was as of last week, some communication I had. But of course that can change quickly, and apparently at least we have a date set. So if there's a date set, they should probably get a mediator here really, really fast.
We got Immaculate has joined the chat.
Welcome, sir. We got a lot of people in. We have Justin in the house.
All right.
I love all the recent shows. Haven't been around, but still follow you guys. I obviously loved the Wyoming interview with Ryan Thorburn. Thank you, Justin. Go Pokes. That was a great interview with him. Provided a lot of good info. That's his second time he's been polite enough to come on the show. I am actually planning to bring on another guest. Poke fans will know him. to probably do a preview show for Wyoming. Not Ryan this time. Nothing against Ryan, but mix it up a little bit. And we'll probably get that out maybe in August. But thank you, Justin. Appreciate it. You know, I'm a Cowboy fan. I loved having that conversation with Ryan. Fantastic. I mean, he's a boot on the ground guy. He's there all the time. He knows what's going on. You're not going to get too many better people to give you the DL on Wyoming. And since we had that episode, because I am a poke.
Yes.
No. They've pulled some nice transfers.
I forgot to bring it up earlier when we were talking about the draft. I saw that their kicker from last year, who was real good, he got signed by the Ravens.
Yes. They let the Tucker go.
Yes.
For forever. Now he had some issues apparently. I'm not going to get into that, but let him go. And yes, red shoes, highest point scorer in the history of Wyoming football.
Yep.
Was likely to. I didn't see the news that he was signed.
I believe he was. I think I saw it went across the wire that he was signed by the Ravens.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. Go get him, John. Ride for the brand like we know you will. So thank you for bringing that up. But we pulled a fantastic, I believe it was linebacker from North Dakota State. He was a wrecking ball this year at North Dakota State. Of course, the nth time FCS champion, North Dakota State, 12th time, whatever they are. I don't want to be wrong.
Yeah.
I'm going to be wrong. But pulled a linebacker, pulled a running back from Iowa. I think I texted you.
Yes.
And who had some touches last year for Iowa. And it was two positions that Coach Savell mentioned after the spring game that they were looking to try and bolster. So got another running back to help fill the loss of Harrison and a fantastic linebacker. I'd like to see another secondary product because I'm very worried about the secondary.
So the stable, obviously a Boise fan, a Bronco fan here. He says 4 starting running backs at Boise this year. Honestly, I'll say, and I kind of mentioned this before, Genty is the end of an era. He is the last, in my opinion, he is the last premier running back we will ever see in college. Because teams are going to more, nobody is using one back like that anymore. You see it at Penn State where they have Singleton and Katron Allen. We saw this last year, Ohio State with Judkins and I forget the other guy, but that's just what's maybe it was Travion Henderson. So, anyways, schools are going like there just isn't those premier workout horsebacks, and running backs don't want to put that wear and tear.
I was just going to say there's a health aspect to it.
There's a health aspect. I mean everything, and now that we're having longer seasons with potential playoffs and all that kind of stuff. I think he's Genty is the last great workhorse back that sets those big numbers in my opinion, because it's a dying breed. It was already dying. He was kind of a leftover from a previous time, and I think that'll be the trend. Schools are going to just keep bringing in backs, and they're going to use 2, 3, 4 starters.
Last is extreme, but I totally understand the point that you're making.
Yeah.
And I would disagree with Stable. I don't think they have 4 starting running backs. I think they have a stable of running backs.
Yeah.
Whatever. I got to argue with people.
Yeah.
Mainly you, though.
Yeah.
All right. Let me. Immaculate says he. Nothing real big there regarding ND and Clemson. Just kind of talking about the news there, Immaculate. And then I thought there was one other thing here.
So I'll say with Immaculate, so that he's been for a long time. He's been on the congressional hearings and all of that stuff. So if you're interested in. If anyone out there, if you're interested in what's going on with the congressional hearings, the changes, the House settlement, and the new structure of college football, you got to be following Immaculate on Twitter, on X, because he's covering that stuff. I try and keep up with him and everything that's putting out. And I was following along with the Senate hearings. Senator Ted Cruz leading those hearings. I think made some fantastic points. If you haven't seen what Senator Ted Cruz was saying in the hearing, you should go, whether just leave politics aside,
right.
just looking at it as if you want to fix college football. I think he made some great points. He talked about the NFL and their antitrust exemption,
Right.
and how they're trying to encroach into the territory that's protected for college football, and they're kind of backdooring it using streaming and different things like that. He sounds like he is serious about protecting college football, not only from the NFL and from any other nefarious agents out there. So I'm always pessimistic about the politicians and how they're going to fix things.
Yeah.
My optimism level is increasing more and more as I listen to the Ted Cruz hearings.
Because he has a good understanding.
Yeah,
Mainly. Is that why or why?
Mostly because I think he's serious about everything, about the all of it, not just having a pet cause. Because that was
a political check mark.
Yes.
I'm in favor of saving college football.
Right.
He wants to actually maybe save college football.
in the hearings in the House. Each person just had their little pet thing that they wanted to use as political football. I think he is serious about this, and I think he has a great perspective so far. So my optimism level is going up.
Okay. Shout out to Bill, college football guy. Nash may, and this is a good point, and I think I talked about this on that episode. Nash may be the better receiver, but he says Davis, he means White, blocks punts and will do the dirty work. Yes,
Great special teams player.
Fantastic special, and that 7th round player. If he can get some time in special teams here to start, and then maybe become a more relied upon receiver. That's absolutely. He had, I believe, it was 4 blocked. Punts, and no other team in FBS had that many. One player had more than any other team.
Yeah, because you can make the roster as, let's say, a 4th or 5th wide receiver,
right,
and be a staple special teams guy. You can make rosters that way,
which is how you're not cut, right?
Yes,
like
exactly.
You said, that's how you make a roster, how you don't
Stay
get
on
cut later on.
Yep.
Justin, again, thank you so much for the super chat. I know you're one that often comes on, and we appreciate the super chat, but honestly, your words there are why we do it. We, glad you appreciate the shows, appreciate what we do, that you follow us. That's why we do it.
Yep.
We're glad that we're making content that people seem to like. So let me just go down here real quick, and then I want to get to the pack at the end, and we'll wrap this sucker up. Uh-oh. Whoa. See, this thing jumps sometimes.
Yeah.
Bill said something about... confirmed. Bill confirms what the stable said. May 19th, discuss poaching and exit fees. That's the court filing. I'm sorry. They did have a court filing on May 19th to discuss mediation for the poaching and the exit fees. All right, Jared. He named it. That's who I'm going to bring on. Okay. 7220 Sports.
All right.
I'm drawing a blank on his name. I apologize. I'm sure Jared will get me. But yes, I have invited on 7220 Sports. Start with a C.
We have so many names.
I'm sorry. I apologize. But yes, that is who I have asked to come on, and he said yes. And it'll be great.
It's funny. We've interviewed a lot of different people, Brado, and you'll tell me the name, and I'll be like, oh, that sounds familiar. And then as soon as we have them on, I see their face. I'm like, oh, yeah. And then I remember what they said, what we talked about.
Brady Moon, thank you. I did not see this. Nevada just voted to go forward for the Grand Sierra Resort Arena. Breaking news, massive news for Nevada Wolfpack fans. That is awesome.
What is that?
Thank you,
Explain
Brady.
that.
So it's a whole, I've done a couple tweets here the last few days. It's a whole massive complex. They'll have an arena where the men's and women, what's planned, planned. The men's and women's basketball for the Wolfpack will play in this new arena off campus. Mm-hmm. And I get some people hate the off campus thing. But hey, if they're paying for it and there's no money being spent by the University of Nevada, I'm pretty sure they're going to go off campus into a brand new facility. And it's pretty damn awesome.
If you're in Vegas or Reno, it makes sense to go off campus.
Right, exactly.
They're tough to do.
So anyway, they're going to have that. And then with it, there's an ice rink. There's, of course, a hotel and casino. They have a water golf thing. I don't want to, all kinds of stuff. But for the Mountain West, it's important because it's a brand new basketball arena for
Basketball
the Wolfpack.
arena. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's an indoor facility.
Indoor
basketball.
facility.
Okay.
I think they just call it the arena or the
Grand
Grand
Sierra
Sierra Arena or something like that. But thank you, Brady. I did not get a chance to check on what happened today. That is, in my opinion, because I'm a Mountain West guy, that is fantastic news. And I think the comments that I were getting, and I didn't get a ton, there was a lot of support that they were hoping this would go through. Apparently, there was some people that were saying some of the other casinos were against it. Well, go frickin' figure.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I think we should add that to the list. When they have their grand opening, we should add that to our travel list and go check it out for their grand opening.
I love it. The renderings look, of course, I don't remember it, $40 billion complex or whatever the heck it's going to be. All right, we got a lot of Mountain West people coming in. Paul, I know he's a great commenter on the channel. We got Mario back, Ray, Mountain West. Love to see all your. Thank you, Brady. Appreciate that information. Hot off the presses, at least for me. The Knicks just won again. Sorry, I'm not an NBA guy, but if you are, congrats.
There's some banter. There's some Mountain West and PAC banter going back and forth.
I'm not getting into that.
What I'll say is, I hope they do go forward with the mediation. They need to come to a settlement. They need to come to a compromise, move forward, figure it out. At this point, the grand dream of the merger, it looks like it's not happening. So figure it out, come to a settlement, so both conferences can move forward and survive in the new world of college football.
Tommy Gunn with breaking news. Jackson Woodard, linebacker from UNE, picked up by the Houston Texans after he was waived by the Seattle Seahawks. That's awesome. Immaculate says that's good news for Nevada. Really good news. I agree. They need some good news there. That's really good news. All right, so let's get to Cody. That's it. I knew it started with a C, and I knew Jared was going to help me out. Cody Tucker. I was going to say Kurt, and I knew that wasn't right. I'm going to have Cody on. Thanks, Jared. So let's get to the PAC real quick. I did a standalone episode without you last week, I guess it was, because they have announced a 2025 schedule with media partners and kickoff times.
Love it.
And we haven't really talked about this. Again, I did it standalone, could drop it real quick, did it short, gave my opinions on it. Let's pull up the schedule here real quick, and then I want to hear kind of your thoughts. Of course, we've got CW as the main broadcast partner, again, going in for 2025. We have ESPN that has joined on. They have 2 games, and CBS has joined on for 2 games. If you remember, this past fall, it was all CW with 2 Fox games. So Fox is out. ESPN, and that was 2 games. ESPN gets 2, CBS gets 2, and I said on the episode that it's clear to me that CBS came in for the 2 most viewed, most valuable, if you want to call that, games. One of them being the Washington State game, the Apple Cup. And of course, Washington is a Big Ten team. And then the other one, CBS took one of the 2 PAC-12 games, because remember there's 2 this year.
They're playing.
So I think that was the highest viewed game on the CW all of last year. That wasn't a surprise to me. And we've always heard ESPN was going to be kind of interested, so they dabble. They get 2 games. They get the Cal game with the Beavs, and they get the Houston game with the Beavs. So what were your thoughts on this, Steve?
I love it for them. They're getting multiple partners, which I think is good. The CW games will be on the linear TV or actually over the air TV up there. Where the top channels are, like the CBS, Fox, NBC.
Right.
So people will see it on their guide. When they start their guide. But then also being CBS Sports. CBS Sports has done a great. I don't know if the games are going to be on the big CBS.
Supposed network. To be on the main network.
Okay. Yep. CBS Sports, I think, has done a great job with Mountain West games over the last 10 years or whatever. And I think they'll do a great job with these games. And then I do think it's important getting even the little dabble from ESPN.
Sure.
ESPN wants to fill those later time slots. They're probably, not ready to come in and do a full package.
Yeah.
But splitting it up like this, letting them come in and dabble, those are big games that they can put on ESPN. They'll get a lot of airtime. They'll get promotion, all of those things. So with the limited schedule and everything going on in 2025, I think they did the best the best that they could do from a what do we always talk about? From a like just a viewership exposure.
Exposure, yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know if you've seen dollar figures or whatever, but honestly, until they transition to the real conference, whatever it's going to be, I think exposure is so much more important than just the dollar figures, and I think they did about as best as they could.
Yeah, and I'll keep it real here and just say, 3 of these games, Lafayette, not a knock on, I say that a lot, not a knock.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to crap on these schools.
Right.
But Lafayette, Idaho, and even maybe Louisiana Tech, these aren't games, and they're going to be on the CW.
Yeah,
Those are games that may not be on anywhere. If these were Mountain West teams, they may be on the Mountain West network on the app.
Right.
But they definitely wouldn't, I don't think, be picked up by FS1 or CBS Sportsnet. So, I mean, for those schools to be on the CW, that tells you who's kind of carrying the water there.
Absolutely.
To get that game on the CW. So, and I agree. I think having 3 partners here is really, really good. Of course, you mentioned the time. And that inventory, I say it all the time. Yep. I said it on that episode. That late night inventory is so important because there's so few of it, and that's what ESPN did here. The 2 they picked are those what used to be PAC After Dark. They're the 10 o'clock Eastern games or whatever, where there's no game or very few games going to be on.
Yep.
ESPN wants frickin' football from noon till midnight.
Yes.
That's all they want to show.
Right.
And there's only so many, and that's why I've always been kind of positive on the Mountain West and the PAC having multiple different partners that are interested, because that inventory is so few right now.
Yep.
Yes, the Big Ten has a little bit, but that's maybe 1 or 2 games on 2 networks when you have another 2 networks that want to be showing football at the same time.
Yes.
And these are the only 2 conferences that are going to give them to you.
Yeah, it gives a over-the-air network like the CW a chance to air games in traditional windows during the day, and then also an ESPN who wants to come in and fill their nighttime inventory. So I think it's fantastic, and I think we will see this model, I agree with you, for both the Mountain West and the PAC moving forward, moving beyond 2025, because it makes so much sense for them to do that and be able to have some traditional time slot games, but also offer up some inventory to an ESPN, a Fox Sports, whatever, who wants to fill CBS Sports. They want to fill, on the CBS SN, some nighttime games. I think this is a great package for 2025 for the PAC, but also I think gives us a great preview of what we'll see for both of these conferences, 2026 and beyond. The type of deals they might be able to get, and how we'll have multiple partners and a lot of different viewing windows.
Well, and that's what I want to go to next, maybe last, is 26 and beyond. Shout out to our producer. He told us he had a couple surprises tonight, and one surprise is that our beautiful mugs get this, and by mugs I mean faces.
Yes,
not these
we're
beautiful
up in the top
mugs.
corner.
We're up in the top corner, so
it.
people can keep seeing us.
I love it.
Yeah, so props to producer. I see that there. I see what you're doing. Well done. But I want to talk about 26 and beyond.
Yes.
And so my opinion was that, and has been, I think I talked about where I view the media partners being, 3-4 months ago between the PAC and the Mountain West. And the PAC being CW and ESPN, and I think TNT is potentially the third partner.
Yes.
It was interesting, there is no TNT here. Now remember, their agreement with the Mountain West continues for 1 more year, so they do have that inventory with the Mountain West right now. So they didn't technically need it because they already have it with the Mountain West. I think the CBS ad here is purely taking what Fox had last year. They saw the value. They took the 2 high values. And that's not, to me, that's not a sign that the Mountain West is in danger of losing CBS. That doesn't mean they won't. It's just, this is not, to me, in any way, shape, or form, any sort of sign that the Mountain West is in trouble with CBS. I will say it's interesting ESPN is here because I think ESPN continues. You talked about them putting their foot in this water, and I think they're going to end up soaking in this water. So is there anything that you gleaned off of this, or you're just like, hey, this was a one-time deal. They already had CW. Any changes to what my opinions were? Or any different opinions?
Not really, other than I don't just look at it as a one-time deal so much as I do think it's a good indicator for us of what we can expect for both conferences.
Yeah.
The PAC and the Mountain West to have deals similar to this, almost offering up their inventory a la carte.
Sure.
If you can get a big partner in ESPN to come in, even if it's just for 2 games that are your big games, could we see the Mountain West do that with their premier games, where maybe ESPN wants to come in and just their top 2 games and put them on prime time,
right.
Great, and maybe the rest of the games are on a TNT where they're on traditional time slots and they're streamed on Max, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I think this just kind of gives us a good idea, and we might see crossover. Like ESPN might say, well, we want these 2 games from the PAC and we want these 2 or 3 games from the Mountain West. As long as they're both willing to do that, I think they can add value. We saw when Kevin Warren in the Big Ten, how he split up the package for the Big Ten, giving CBS a slot, giving NBC a slot, giving Fox a slot. And that really opened revenue for them. I think both the PAC and the Mountain West can do that on a smaller level, obviously,
right.
By being open to multiple partners like this.
But and I think the fact that there's 3 this year, they went from 2 to 3, is a positive for the PAC and the Mountain West. Because now, look at who's showing Western football.
Yes.
The PAC and the Mountain West. You've got the CW, you got CBS, you've got ESPN now, PAC is at it. You've got Fox, and you've got TNT, or the Warner Brother Discovery.
TNT Max,
You've got 5 different broadcast companies interested in this inventory.
Love it.
It's a great thing for both conferences.
Absolutely.
So I think this is a win for the PAC, and I think this is good news for the Mountain West.
Yes.
Because it shows you all 5 of these companies that show football are interested in showing these football games.
Yes. Yep.
That's a huge win. The other thing I want to point out, when the PAC, if they're going to go to 8 members, and even if they go to 9, they're going to have 4, once they get in conference for the majority of the football season, they're going to have 4 games a week.
Right.
That's it.
That's it. Yep.
That's it. CW, CBS, and ESPN, if ESPN wants 2, that means CBS gets 1 and the CW gets 1.
Yes.
Well, they need more. They want more inventory than that. So I think that often, in my opinion, gets missed when we're talking about, the CBS is going to go to the PAC and they're going to leave the Mountain West.
They can do both.
They can absolutely do both. And I've been kind of negative on the do both thing. I would think they would prefer having 4 or 5 games with one conference.
Yeah.
So from a scheduling standpoint and production standpoint, but the inventory is a big deal, and I know I keep using that word, but it's a big deal.
Well, I think we could see a scenario. Let's say where the CW stuck with the PAC, okay. And maybe Turner sticks with Mountain West.
Yeah.
But you have ESPN and CBS taking from both pools.
Sure. Right.
You could see a scenario like that where they each have one partner that's individual, but then a couple of partners that are dipping from both pots.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go real quick, see if there's anything that we missed.
So Sergeant Moorhew, he said about having veterans and whatever. So just to let you know, 22-year Navy veteran, retired as a Navy chief. Just wanted to let him know because he was excited we had more veterans in here.
There you go. Oh, I went too high. We already saw this. There's the code.
And he's a Marine, so
fantastic.
I love my Marines.
Atomic Skull hopes that TNT Max sticks with the Mountain West. I agree with you, Atomic Skull. Yeah. I'm not sure. I have put my marker down that they are going to actually move to the PAC, but I would love for them to stay with the Mountain West as well. Sergeant says the same thing. TNT and Fox for the next Mountain West deal. How long does mediation usually take for situations like the Mountain West? It depends on how much they want to talk and how close they can get.
It could be 5 minutes. They could walk into a session and walk out.
They could say, hey, we tried.
Yeah.
It depends on how willing the 2 parties both are to a mediation and a potential settlement. So that's a good question, but it's hard to answer. It could, like, 5 minutes, 5 months, a year. I mean, hopefully it won't take a year, but there's no real good answer right now.
I don't have a lot of hope that mediation is going to produce something unless both sides are just like, hey, we need to settle this and move on.
Right.
We'll take our lumps and move on. But we've covered a lot of these different lawsuits. We started with the original PAC. We've covered the ACC. Usually, no one is ready to settle until they take some kind of a loss, until they are in some kind of a peril.
Right.
And so or jeopardy, until we see that where one side, they lose a fight, they lose a preliminary something, whatever, we're probably not going to see either one come to the table, which is a shame.
Yeah, real quick, Atomic Skull, some good comments here. Also love the name, just to remind everyone. Mountain West 5 is running out of time to officially declare they are leaving. Don't know if they're having lingering lawsuits cause problems for the situation. So what I'm sure most people know what he's talking about, he or she are talking about. They have until June 1st to officially resign or leave the Mountain West. So they have to give the written notice. They have to pay the $5,000, which we all know they haven't done yet. Yeah. And once that deadline hits, the exit fee doubles.
Yeah.
Now, I would say, and that's true. That's what's in the bylaws.
Right.
But at the same time, remember, we have a lawsuit that they don't agree with the bylaws.
Yes.
So that's 100% true, Atomic Skull. And if I'm reading the bylaws and you're going to believe what the bylaws say and they're an actual contract that's not going to get litigated or settled upon, yes, they have a deadline of June 1st so that their exit fee does not double. If I'm in litigation about an exit fee, I certainly don't want to have a document that says that when I'm in a settlement, right? Like I knew what it said was doubling, but I don't think I should pay. Maybe the argument is my number's 0 anyway, so I don't care if it quadruples. Right. I think it's 0, but that's a little ignorant, right? What are your thoughts on that?
I think with anything like this, they're probably going to wait until the last minute and do it at the last minute because it doesn't. What does it gain them?
It doesn't give them anything.
Yeah, so they'll do it at the last minute, but will still say we don't agree. Like we're doing this now, but we don't agree with this, and we're gonna reserve the right to fight it.
If they do it at the last minute, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't, given the lawsuits.
I think they will.
But we've got
because they can easily add a disclaimer saying this does not constitute that we agree with this provision. We're just doing this now, and we still reserve the right to fight.
I'm anxious to see if they do. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
I'm anxious to see if they do.
So Atomic Skull talks about Mountain West signing an exclusive deal with CBS. I get it. As a fan, it makes things easier because you know where it is and all that. But for putting money together, it's just the reality. I'm a Big Ten fan. I wish all the Big Ten games were on like the ABC, ESPN brand of networks instead of Fox having big noon kickoff and this and that. It's easier as a fan. But for a conference, if you're trying to maximize your revenue, you want as many media partners as possible to if they all want a piece of your pie and they're willing to pay for it, you want to cut up your pie and sell it to as many people as possible.
Yep, agree. People commenting on the mediation and the deadline, and it all remains to be seen.
Yeah.
So, hey, we're going to wrap this one up. Had a lot of different things to talk about. It's always great to chat with our dwellers, commenters, awesome stuff. We had some great comments today. Thank you guys so much. Again, thank you, Justin, for the super chat and the kind words. As you know, I will stay on all things Mountain West and Wyoming Cowboys. So with that, we're going to close this one out. We will be back next week for another live episode. If you didn't already, pound that like button. And with that, hey, we'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.